The Empty Bowl, a Zen story about the art of receiving. The Monk and the Full Cup. Once upon a time, a young monk traveled for weeks to visit a Zen master renowned for his wisdom. When he finally arrived at the temple, exhausted and full of questions, the master invited him to have tea. They sat in silence. The master picked up the teapot and began pouring tea into the visitor's cup. He poured and poured until the cup was completely full. But he did not stop. The tea began to spill onto the table, then onto the floor. Alarmed, the monk cried out, "Master, the cup is full. It can't hold any more." The master calmly set the teapot down and smiled. "Like this cup," he said, "you come filled with your own ideas, opinions, and knowledge. How can I show you anything new if you do not first empty your cup?" This ancient story holds a truth few truly understand. We cannot receive what we have not made space for. The proud mountain and the humble valley. In the lands of the East, there is a story of a mountain and a valley that had shared the same landscape since time immemorial. The mountain was tall, majestic, visible from everywhere. When the sun rose, its peaks shone first. When storms came, it faced them head-on. It felt powerful, self-sufficient, invincible. The valley, by contrast, lay below, hidden, humble. No one mentioned it in stories. No one wrote poems about its beauty. It simply existed, silent, waiting. As time passed, the seasons turned. Rain fell. Rivers flowed. And something extraordinary began to happen. While the mountain remained lonely and barren in its height, the valley filled with clear water. Where the water arrived, life flourished. Trees grew. Flowers opened. Animals came to drink. The valley became the beating heart of the entire region. The mountain watched in astonishment. "Why does all the abundance come to you? I am higher, stronger, more visible." The valley replied gently, "Sister Mountain, it is not that abundance comes to me. It is that I am willing to receive it. My humility is not weakness, it is openness. I bow, and so the water finds me. You rise in pride, and so the water leaves you." The Zen lesson is clear. What rises in rigidity remains empty. What opens in humility fills naturally. The beggar and the emperor. In ancient times, there lived an emperor who possessed everything a man could desire. Palaces, gold, vast territories. Yet inside, he felt empty, dissatisfied, always searching for something more. One day, while walking through his city in disguise, he saw a beggar sitting beneath a tree. The beggar had nothing, no home, no gold, no possessions. But on his face was something the emperor had not seen in years: genuine peace. Intrigued, the emperor approached and asked, "How is it possible that you, who have nothing, seem so at peace, while I, who have everything, feel constantly unsatisfied?" The beggar smiled and said, "Your Majesty, let me show you something." He extended his hands. "Open and empty. Look at my hands. They hold nothing, yet they can receive everything. The sun that warms me, the breeze that cools me, the food someone shares, the smile of a child." Then he pointed to the emperor's hands, clenched into tight fists without him even noticing. "Now look at yours. They are closed, gripping what you already have, afraid to lose it. Closed hands cannot receive anything new. No matter how much a man owns, if his hands are closed, he lives in poverty." The emperor looked at his own hands. Tense, tight. In that moment he understood. He had spent his life accumulating, but had never learned how to receive. The impatient student. A young student arrived at a Zen monastery seeking enlightenment. She was brilliant, capable, determined. She had read all the sacred texts, practiced meditation for years, studied with many teachers. When she met the abbess, she said urgently, "I'm ready. I've done everything required. When will I receive enlightenment? The teacher invited her to walk through the garden. As they walked, they passed a cherry tree in bloom. Tell me, the teacher asked, how does this tree manage to blossom every spring? The student, confused by the seemingly simple question, replied, the tree doesn't do anything. It just is. The conditions come together and the flowers appear. Exactly, said the teacher. The tree does not demand to bloom. It does not prove that it deserves flowers. It does not strain to force the petals open. It simply becomes available when spring arrives. Its roots are open to the water. Its branches are open to the light. It does not resist, control, or force. It allows. The student frowned. But I've worked so hard. That is precisely the problem, the teacher interrupted gently. You have filled every moment with effort, with doing, with seeking. When have you created space simply to receive? Enlightenment is not conquered. It is not earned. It is not proven. It is allowed, just as the tree allows spring. The Zen truth. Effort has its place, but without openness to receive, effort is just agitation. The bamboo and the oak. An ancient Zen tale speaks of a mighty oak and a slender bamboo growing side by side in the forest. The oak was strong, solid, imposing, deep roots, thick trunk. It took pride in its strength, in never bending before anything. I need no one, it declared. I am self-sufficient. Storms come and I stand firm. The bamboo, flexible and thin, swayed with the wind. When rain fell, it received it. When the wind blew, it bent. I do not have my brother oak's rigidity, thought the bamboo. But I have something different, the ability to flow with what comes. One day, the fiercest storm the forest had seen in decades arrived. Hurricane winds, torrential rain, lightning tearing the sky apart. The oak, true to its nature, remained rigid. I will not bend, it roared at the wind. I am strong. I do not need to yield. The bamboo, however, bowed deeply, nearly touching the ground. The wind passed over it without resistance. The rain soaked it without breaking it. When the storm finally passed, the bamboo rose again, intact, dripping with water, alive, flexible, renewed. The oak, with all its strength and rigidity, lay split in half, destroyed by its inability to yield. A monk passing by later reflected, the oak was defeated by its strength. The bamboo survived by its softness. It is not rigidity that sustains us in life, but the ability to bend without breaking, to receive without resisting. The Master and the Two Vessels. Once there was a master potter famous throughout the province. One day, two students arrived at his workshop, each bringing a vessel they had made. The first vessel was beautiful, perfectly symmetrical, elaborately decorated. But its bottom was completely sealed. It had no opening. The second vessel was simpler, less ornate, but it had a wide opening at the top. The master filled a bucket with water and said, "Show me the purpose of your creations." The first student held up his vessel proudly. "Look how beautiful it is. I spent weeks perfecting every detail. No one can create something so flawless." "That is true," the master nodded. "But tell me, what is it for?" The student hesitated. "Well, it is beautiful. It is perfect. That should be enough." The master tried to pour water into it, but of course, without an opening, the water simply ran down the sides. The vessel remained empty, useless despite its beauty. Then the master took the second vessel, simple and open. He poured the water, and the vessel received it fully, filling to the brim. "Do you see the difference?" said the master. "A vessel may be perfect in appearance, but if it is closed, it cannot fulfill its purpose. A vessel exists to receive and to hold. A life may look perfect from the outside, full of achievements and strength, but if it is closed to receiving, it remains fundamentally empty. The first student asked, "So all my beauty, my perfection, is worth nothing?" "I did not say that," the master replied gently. "Beauty has value. But ask yourself, did you create this vessel to serve or to impress? To function or to protect yourself? A sealed vessel does not fear being filled, but it also cannot fulfill its purpose. Zen wisdom teaches, perfection that closes us is inferior to simplicity that opens us. The story of the silent monk. In a remote monastery lived a monk who had taken a vow of silence years before. He did not speak, did not ask for anything, did not express needs. The other monks admired him for his discipline and self-sufficiency. One day, a traveling Zen master arrived at the monastery. He observed the silent monk for several days, noticing how he worked alone, ate alone, meditated alone, rejecting all interaction and help. One afternoon, the master approached the silent monk as he swept the garden. Without saying a word, the master picked up another broom and began sweeping beside him. The silent monk immediately tensed. He tried to signal that he could do it himself, that he did not need help. The master continued sweeping in silence. After a while, when the garden was clean, the master finally spoke. "Brother, I have noticed your silence. It is a noble practice. But I wonder, do you keep silence in order to listen more deeply, or so that you don't have to receive?" The monk looked at him, confused. "There is a silence born of inner peace, open to the world," the master continued. "And there is a silence born of fear, used as a wall. The first silence is like an empty bowl, receptive. The second is like a sealed vessel, closed. When you rejected my help sweeping, was it because you didn't need it, or because you fear the vulnerability of needing? When you eat alone, is it conscious preference, or fear of the intimacy that sharing requires? Sometimes what we call discipline is just another way of keeping the world at a distance." Something stirred inside the silent monk. For years he had believed his self-sufficiency was spiritual virtue. Now he saw it might simply be an elegant refuge from the fear of receiving. That night, for the first time in years, the silent monk joined the others for the communal meal. He did not break his vow of silence, but he opened something deeper. The willingness to be present and allow others to reach him. The garden that would not receive rain. A Zen gardener tended an extraordinary garden. Every plant was perfectly placed, every stone in its exact position. He had worked for years to create this perfection. But there was a problem. He had built an elaborate glass roof over the entire garden to protect it from storms, strong winds, and occasional hail. The plants grew, but weak and pale. The trees survived, but never fully bloomed. One day, a visiting monk saw the garden and asked, "Why do your plants look thirsty when you water them every day?" "I don't understand it," the gardener replied, frustrated. "I water them meticulously. I give them exactly the amount they need, at the precise moment. I control every variable." The monk pointed to the glass roof. "There is your answer. You protect your garden so much that it cannot receive what naturally belongs to it. Rain brings more than water. It brings minerals from the air, it brings life, it brings the natural rhythm of drought and abundance that plants need to grow strong." "But the storm could damage them," the gardener protested. "And too much sun could burn them and wind could break them," the monk replied. "But that is precisely the process that makes them strong. A garden that never faces storms produces weak plants. A plant that only receives measured water never develops deep roots." The gardener reflected in silence. The monk continued, "It is the same with people. We protect our hearts so much, control so carefully what we allow in, that we become weak. Life wants to give us far more than we calculate we need, but we build glass roofs and then wonder why we feel dry." That afternoon, the gardener began dismantling sections of the roof. fearfully at first, then with growing trust. When the next rain came, he watched in wonder as his plants received it. Some bent under the weight of the water but did not break. Others stood taller afterward. The garden had finally begun to truly live. The lesson of the ocean. A young monk asked his teacher, "How can I develop the ability to receive without becoming dependent or passive?" Instead of answering with words, the master took him to walk by the ocean. They sat on the beach and watched the waves in silence for hours. Finally, the master spoke. "What do you see?" "I see the ocean constantly receiving," the student replied. "Rivers flow into it. Rain falls into it. It receives endlessly." "And what else?" the master pressed. The student looked more carefully. "But I also see that the ocean constantly gives. Waves return to the shore. Evaporation forms clouds. The ocean nourishes all the life within it." "Exactly," the master smiled. "The ocean does not ask whether it deserves the rivers. It does not feel indebted to the rain. It does not fear that receiving will make it dependent. It is simply open, vastly open, and so it can receive everything without ever filling up, and give everything without ever emptying out." "But I am not as big as the ocean," the student said. "You do not need to be," the master replied. "You only need to be as open as a tea bowl. Size does not matter. Willingness does. A small bowl that is open can receive exactly what it needs. A massive container that is sealed remains empty no matter how much abundance surrounds it." "And how do I open?" the young monk asked. "First," said the master, "notice how you close. Watch the exact moment when someone offers something and you automatically say, 'I don't need it,' or 'It's not necessary,' or 'Don't worry.' That instant, that microsecond of contraction, is where your practice lives. And then simply breathe. Stay 1 second longer in openness before closing. You do not need to force anything. Just don't rush to close. The ocean does not rush to receive or to give. It simply flows with what is." The story of the two hands. A Zen sage gathered his students and showed them his two hands. He closed one into a tight fist. The other he kept open and relaxed. "Which hand is stronger?" he asked. The students, young and competitive, immediately pointed to the clenched fist. "That one, master. A fist can strike, can defend, can grip with force." The master nodded. "You are right. A fist is strong for a time. But keep your hand clenched for an hour. What happens?" One student tried. After a few minutes, his hand began to ache. The muscles tightened. Eventually, he had to open it, exhausted. "See," said the master, "the strength of the fist is real but limited. It is a strength of tension that cannot be sustained. It burns out." Then he showed his open hand. "This hand looks vulnerable, doesn't it? Exposed, open. But it can remain this way indefinitely without tiring. And observe, it can receive. It can hold water. It can accept a gift. It can feel a caress." He closed the fist again. "This strong hand cannot receive anything. It is ready to fight, to defend, but it cannot be nourished." Then he did something interesting. He opened and closed his hand several times. Gently, fluidly. "True strength," he said, "is not in staying always open or always closed. It is in the ability to flow between both states according to what the moment requires. To close when it is truly necessary. To open when it is safe to do so. But not to confuse habit with necessity. Many of you live with your fist permanently closed, not because there is constant danger, but out of habit, out of fear, out of an old wound that convinced you that opening is dangerous. And your lives, like that closed hand, are tense, tired, unable to receive the nourishment you need. The mirror of the lake. This Zen story tells of a lake high on a mountain. The lake was perfectly still, like a mirror, reflecting the sky with absolute clarity. One day, a leaf fell from a nearby tree into the lake. Some might expect the lake to reject the leaf, to complain that its perfect surface had been disturbed. But the lake simply received it. The leaf floated on the surface. The reflection distorted for a moment, then settled again, now including the leaf in the image. Then a branch fell. Then rain came. Then a bird landed to drink. Then autumn leaves covered parts of the lake. The lake received everything without resistance. It did not complain that the leaves ruined its clarity. It did not reject the rain for being too violent. It did not ask the bird to drink elsewhere. And what was extraordinary was this: despite receiving everything, the lake never stopped being a lake. Its essence remained intact. A monk meditating by the lake understood this deep teaching. The lake shows me that receiving does not fundamentally change me. I can welcome experiences, emotions, help, love, and still be who I am. I do not need to defend my essence by rejecting what comes. I feared that if I received too much love, I would become dependent. That if I accepted too much help, I would lose my identity. That if I allowed others to touch me emotionally, I would dissolve. But the lake teaches me otherwise. It receives everything and remains a lake. I can receive everything and remain myself. Receptivity does not erase identity. It enriches it. The final practice. The space between breaths. A very old Zen master gathered his students for his final teaching before leaving the monastery. "I have taught you much about meditation, discipline, and practice," he said softly. "But my final teaching is the simplest and the hardest." The students bowed, expecting complex wisdom. "Learn to receive," said the master. "That is all." The students looked at one another, confused. The master smiled. "Let me show you what I mean." He took a deep, conscious breath. "Observe. I inhale, and I receive the air. I do not deserve it. I did not earn it. I do not have to justify why I need to breathe. The air is available, and I am open. That is all. Then I exhale and I give. I release carbon dioxide that plants need. I do not ask whether I deserve to give, or whether this puts me in debt. I simply give because it is the natural flow." Now notice the space between breaths, the moment of stillness. Neither giving nor receiving. Just being. That space is where true peace lives. All your spiritual practice comes down to this: learning the natural rhythm of receiving and giving, with moments of simple being in between. Not getting stuck on one side. Not living only exhaling until you are exhausted. Not living only inhaling until you burst. And above all, not forgetting the moments of stillness in between. One student asked, "Master, but how do we practice this in daily life, not just in breathing?" "Exactly the same way," the old master replied. "When someone offers you something, a compliment, help, love, that is an inhalation. Receive it as you receive air, without analyzing whether you deserve it, without justifying why you need it. Just inhale. When you give to others your time, your attention, your help, that is an exhalation. Give it as you exhale, naturally, without tension, without keeping score. And between the two, cultivate moments where you simply are, where you are not proving anything, earning anything, doing anything. Just being enough as you are." The master closed his eyes and breathed peacefully. "That," he whispered, "is the complete practice. Everything else is commentary." The silent invitation. Zen does not shout. It does not demand. It does not push. It simply shows, like the valley that does not chase the river, like the bamboo that bends with the wind, like the ocean that receives without asking. Life is constantly offering moments of beauty, outstretched hands, kind words, unexpected opportunities, unconditional love. The question was never whether life gives. The question has always been, are you available to receive? You do not need to change who you are. You do not need to become someone else. You only need to notice where you close out of habit, not necessity. And in that moment of awareness, before your automatic response, breathe, stay, allow, like the empty bowl that can finally be filled, like the valley that receives the river effortlessly, like the lake that accepts every leaf without resistance. That single second of openness can change an entire life. The invitation is already here. It always has been. With reverence, with calm, with enough space for what is good to enter.